Godzilla X Kong. To be completely honest, it could have been called Kong and a little bit of Godzilla. Because Godzilla X Kong, I don't know what the X was for. This isn't the 10th movie. There were no X-Men. They weren't fighting. Maybe that's how Toho does and with an X. I don't know. But it didn't need to, it should have been Godzilla and Kong. Actually, it should have been Kong, ... Godzilla. There were some good points and some bad points, some highs and some lows in this movie. The first thing I want to talk about, there's a point where Godzilla or King Kong is headed to see the other great apes. And he walks across this chasm, this gigantic space between two parts of land. And instead of walking across a bridge, he walks across the bones of another titan. This other titan, it's a head with a skeleton that reaches across. It's so big that Kong, who's almost 400 feet tall, he's 300 plus feet tall, he had to take like 6 steps just to get across the head. So if the head was this big, Kong was like that. So this thing could have had Godzilla, Kong, and King Ghidorah in one bite, spunk, and ate all 3 of them. It was enormous. And since this movie was heavily based on the Titans, there was no verbiage. So there was no way Kong looked at it and was like, oh my God, look at the size of this thing. Anybody else see this? He couldn't do that. When Kong spoke to the humans, or he was amongst them, he couldn't say, hey man, there's a Titan out there, the bones of one bigger than me. I wonder if it's got descendants. I wonder if there's other ones out there that big. Wow. Because in this movie, he's in the underworld, right? And he's exploring, he's checking stuff out. And he finds that not only is there another level that he's never been to, but that level had another level that was hidden. And he checks it all out. He finds some of the things that I say was wrong with this. They pumped up baby Kong as if he was going to be a huge part of the show. And he was in it, but he wasn't as big as I thought he would have been. The movie's called Godzilla X Kong, but pretty much, if you've seen trailers, you've pretty much seen everything that Godzilla's going to do in this movie. There might have been another 5 or 6 minutes that they didn't show in the trailer for Godzilla, but pretty much everything you saw in the trailer was Godzilla. So I'm not sure that he even really needed to be in there. There's a fight scene, and now Kong is not as powerful as Godzilla, but Godzilla, he wipes monsters out like that. He has a couple of fights in here, and they don't last long. That's why I say he's only in there a few minutes. He has a couple of fights, and he annihilates the people. But when he fought Kong, that was a legit fight. They fought. It was teetering. It could have gone either way. You get that, but that's really to show you how strong Godzilla is. But in this movie, you get an idea of how strong Kong is, because Kong beat the brakes off of just about everybody he ran into. He had like 5 fights. And one fight, the monster was screaming in his face, and he was like, bam, sock him, and just knocked the monster out. And I was like, wow, they got a big rise from the audience. it was a good movie. It wasn't the movie I was expecting to see. It was good. It just wasn't what I was expecting. It was cartoonish, and I mean, like, literally, it was made like it was supposed to be a cartoon, and they tried to do some throwbacks. They've got an actor from the previous movie, the podcast guy, Bernie. He's back, and he in the previous movie, he was so jittery and nervous, and oh my God, he had that kind of an attitude. It was funny. They tried to recapture that, and it wasn't as good a stick as it was in the first one. It was okay. I mean, he's a funny guy. Brian Henry. He's hilarious. But the jokes didn't hit. In fact, sometimes he would say something and they would roll right past it and go to the next thing. And I was like, they're not even going to get the audience a chance to enjoy that. It wasn't, the script, the part with the humans wasn't great. And the part where the humans were doing things didn't make sense. Now, you got to suspend belief anyway when you watch this. It's giant monsters walking around, sleeping in a coliseum, chilling, destroying property. Like, apparently some of the governments are thinking just wipe the monsters out. They're not aware clearly of more monsters under the realm and the crest of the earth. Because for one, Godzilla's up here. He pretty much keeps the other monsters down there. If they come up, they're going to catch a beating. Any monster that lifts his head above the water, Godzilla's going to put those gloves on him. He's going to give him that work. And he does that. He fights a few creatures that come up, and it's clear that what he's doing. Kong, you're cool down there. Just don't come up. Just like the rest of them, be subordinate. Because if you lift your head up, which he did, and since they don't speak language and Godzilla doesn't understand sign language, they got into it. They had to get at it. Kong needed some help. He wanted to get Godzilla. So he tried to talk to Godzilla, and it didn't work. Now here's another thing that I had a little bit of a problem with. The young girl, the Iwi girl, she can speak to Kong, but not, using superpowers. She uses sign languages, and he picks up on that, and he can sign back, which to me already says that he's way smarter than they think he is. He's sign language. He remembers them. He knows what the language is. He remembers what the signs mean. He's a smart dude. And she tries to talk to Godzilla, but she's like all Aquaman, using her mind powers to talk to him. And Godzilla's like, okay, all right, okay. Mothra is sorta in the movie. Mothra shows up, but basically just like a referee, just shows up for like a few minutes to tell everybody to chill out, and then that's pretty much it. She's not really a part of any of the other fighting and everything, and nobody really talked about that. Nobody was like, where'd that giant butterfly go? Giant butterfly with a wingspan of like 400 feet, and nobody saw her just leave. She just disappeared. I didn't understand that. Again, it was a good movie for what it was, but there was a lot of things while I'm watching the movie. I'm like, why would they spend money on that? I don't understand where you're going with this. Don't nobody see that? There was a lot of things that happened that made me question the movie and its direction. There's a lot of action. It's CGI, but it looks like it's targeted for kids. I expected, big scary monsters to be screaming and biting each other and throwing at each other around and all that kind of stuff. I mean, you got that. But, you know, you got the Expendables with action. And then you got He-Man with action. I was expecting the Expendables, some adult action, some blowing up and stuff. I got He-Man. It's cool. I dig He-Man. But I was expecting this Expendables, you know. You sit down at a restaurant, somebody gives you a glass. It's cold, it's got ice in it, it's got bubbles. You're thinking, oh, okay, this is Coca-Cola. You take it and you take a sip. Now that's Pepsi, man, that's Pepsi. Now ain't nothing wrong with Pepsi. But if you take a sip and you was expecting Coca-Cola and you tasted Pepsi, it's gonna throw you off. Man, it's gonna throw you off. And this movie was Pepsi. This movie was He-Man. I was expecting something different. I got this. If I would have been expecting a kids movie when I went in, cool. I see a kids movie. I'm thinking kids movie, cool. He-Man. But I was looking for Expendables. So it just threw me off because it wasn't what I was expecting. It wasn't a bad movie. It just was not what I was expecting. You know, Kong and Godzilla got together too quick to me. They were gonna knuckle up, and then they just decided, you know what? Nah, let's just go into the underworld and fight some other monsters. Yeah, let's do that. Scar King. They've been talking about Scar King for over a year. I was like, oh, he's gonna have mental powers, and he's gonna do this, and he's got the chain, you know, made out of bones. Where do you get them bones from? I was thinking all of that stuff. In fact, you know what? The Scar King's bone whip looked like a miniature version of whatever that was across the bridge. Man, it was enormous. It was so big that Kong took like 5 or 6 steps just to cross the head, the face, just to get across the face, not the whole, not its back, not the spine, not the tail, just like the face. It was enormous, and they never bring that up, which was the good part and the bad part. It was good because it was predominantly Titans, but you need that human interaction so that you can learn stuff. You know, a whole lot of stuff I want to talk about. I don't want to say anything. I'm not going to say anything about the Iwi people. There's a whole lot of stuff that's going on. I don't want to talk about all of it because I don't want to give the movie away. It's only been like a day or two, but I got a lot of questions. When you see it, I believe you will have a lot of questions too. And again, not because the movie was bad, just because you're going to be like, well, why? What the heck? By the power of Grayskull? You're just going to wonder, right? So I enjoyed it. It just wasn't what I was expecting. You know, just wasn't what I was expecting. If me and a bunch of my friends was sitting around and one of them was like, hey man, what you doing tonight? And I was like, nothing. And he was like, hey, let's go see Godzilla X Kong. I'll probably be like, nah, you go ahead and check it out, and then we'll just talk about it later. Honestly, if they heard me say that, they're probably not going, but I probably wouldn't see. I might watch it on Netflix. If I'm flipping through Netflix and nothing's on, I'll check it out. But I'm not going back to see it at the theaters, man. And I was in one of those rocking, vibrating chairs too, which helps. Not a lot. I would give Godzilla X Kong. I'm still thinking Kong because it should have just been called Kong. One other thing. Clearly, it's, you know, good guys versus bad guys. Of course, the good guys win. If the Scar King gets defeated and Kong takes his place, are they finally going to call that dude King Kong? I mean, what is it, like 5 movies? They're 6 movies deep? When are they going to start calling him King Kong? It's got to be now, but they didn't say it in the movie, so I'm just assuming they're going to make another one, and they're going to be like, you know, he's the king of this realm. He's King Kong. They even call this movie The New Empire. Is it because they discovered a new empire down there? Or is it because Kong is the leader of an empire and now it's a new empire? They didn't explain that either, man. They didn't explain that either. One dude dies and you just know, it's like a trope. It's like when you watch a horror movie and the dude is looking in the mirror in the bathroom and he's looking and it's just him and he opens it up and gets something out. When he closes it, what happens? There's somebody standing behind him. It's a trope. There was a dude that was like, da, 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 and he was saying stuff, and the way he was talking, he was like, he's not, this is his last scene. He better make it good. He is not going to be in the next movie. You could tell. And then all of a sudden, chapow, something got him. And they didn't really freak out the way you would expect people to. If I was standing next to somebody and they just like died by getting attacked by like a lion or something, I'd be freaked out. I'd be talking about that for like 2 weeks. But they were like, oh, we better get out of here. I'm like, the dude just died. What about the dude? They ain't gonna say anything about the dude. They were just like, Anyway, I would give Godzilla X Kong 6 bags of popcorn. 6 bags of popcorn. Almost 6.5. I've been saying it for a while. I got to start doing halves. 6 bags of popcorn. Because that's what I think about that. More importantly, what do you think about that? Now that we had a chance to talk about the video, let's talk about it some more in the comments. And as always, if you like the video, if you like the content, subscribe. And then like.
Popcorn Passport.